Hello everyone and welcome back to Eye on the Storm. It's our first episode back in a long time. We're so excited to see you.
We missed you so much!
We did. We had some awesome fun during the holidays though. We had our Trolley Trolladays special where we had another fun show match for you guys. And if you missed that, you can find it on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/Misscliks. And then we took a week off and now we're here.
We did. We got a glorious week. Were you at CES, yeah?
I was hosting the D2L Dota tournament.
That's pretty cool, but all the time you were thinking about how much you love Heroes, right?
I may have been. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But in case you've never seen this show before, this is Eye on the Storm. It is our place to talk about and learn about and follow the scene for Heroes of the Storm, which is Blizzard's new hero brawler, which is currently in tech alpha but soon to be in closed beta. We're very, very excited about it. And Misscliks, the place where you are watching this, is a place that tries to uplift and provide support for the female role models that exist in geek and gaming culture. And this is my co-host. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Gillyweed. And my co-host is Anna Prosser Robinson, of course, introducing each other as we go. So what you can expect from this show every week is that we bring on a guest. This week's guest is iDream. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Nice to meet you, too. So we bring on our guests. We talk about some different topics in Heroes, sometimes in the community. We also like to learn more about the game, so we bring them on to impart on us their wisdom and tell us more about the game. We also have a character spotlight. This week we're going to be talking about Zeratul. So if you if you like to creep around in the shadows, this spotlight is especially for you. Also, stop being so creepy. We always have yes, please, just stop. We always have a Q&A that you can do throughout. If you have any questions for us or our guest, feel free to tweet using the hashtag StormShow. You can also try to drop it in chat, but it's hard to sometimes keep up with chat, so we might not be able to get those, but you can tweet them at any time, and we'll make sure to watch out for them. And then we will also have a in-game session where you will be able to check out how iDream plays Zeratul and to see all of the cool tips and tricks for that. And then finally we'll have a community spotlight as well, where we'll tell you something cool that's happening in the community.
I'm super stoked for it, and the man with the dream who is here to help us through it all is Cloud9's iDream. How are you doing? Can you tell everyone, like, if they haven't met you or know anything about you, can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into Heroes, and what you do now?
Hi everyone. I'm iDream, and I've been playing mobile games for like 9 years now. I want to say I started off on Dota, moved to Han, and switched to League, and now I'm playing HOTS. I got into HOTS through Cloud9. They basically just they wanted a good team from good players from League to make a team. So basically I never tried the game before, but they wanted to pick up a team and they asked me, and I said yes. So here I am now.
Nice. And you were mentioning you're actually on a team right now with 3 other people, so you're looking for your 5th. You're looking for a ranged assassin still. And how has scrims been, and how is everything going with your team so far?
I think we've been doing pretty well in scrims. Not as well as we used to with Jinte, but we're working on it and trying to find a new fit.
Cool.
So we recently left our team to try and get into LCS, basically.
Ah. Cool. Well, today our topics are going to be, as you may have seen on Twitter, we're going to talk about gaining experience, which is a really important topic for this game. It's a little bit different than other comparable games and something that is sometimes hard to figure out. So we like to have insight from the pros, and then we'll try to touch a little bit on the upcoming patch, which will be really exciting as well. So let's jump right into that. Are we going to start with the closed beta discussion? Should we start there, Gilly?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay. Where should we start?
So, for everyone who doesn't know, closed beta is coming to Heroes of the Storm, and it's going to be here on January 13th, which is Tuesday. The countdown is real. I don't know how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days until we get closed beta. So, what to expect from that? There's no patch notes as of yet, but we know we're going to get Thrall, which is a new hero. And he's going to be a melee assassin, I believe.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. I unfortunately didn't get to play him when I was at BlizzCon, so I don't really know how how that works, but I think that's what it is going to be. There's also going to be a new map, it's Sky Temple. It's like a cool desert area, and it's got a different boss, which I think is going to be really neat. Different than all the other bosses we've seen on the other map, which have all been the Golem. So it's going to be pretty cool. We're also introducing ranked play. So I think there's going to be 2 different leagues. One is Hero and Team. I think that's what they're being called. So you can either do ranked by yourself or as a full team. Was there anything else in beta that's coming that I may have missed?
There are some other new heroes that have been announced, but I don't think that they're set to release with the closed beta. We know Lost Vikings is coming, and we know that Sylvanas is coming, but we don't know when. So.
Right.
But yeah, I think people are probably most excited about that ranked play. People kind of really wanting to know how they match up against each other, and then also be sure to be matched against people that they should play at their skill level. So that's been really exciting. I know a lot of the buzz with the people I play with has been counting down to that ranked play happening.
Yeah. What about you, iDream? What are you looking forward to most?
From beta?
Beta, yeah.
I just ranked play, honestly, and just the new influx of players.
As a pro player, what makes those 2 things so exciting?
Right now, when I play pubs, it's just kind of like you wait for the queue to hit 6 minutes, and it'll just automatically pop, and then you're kind of just like, I don't want to be mean, but like stopping these like new players. They're new to the game. Like, it's pretty unfair. So I think with the new player base and with ranked play, hopefully the games that the pro players can get are more like higher quality.
Do you feel like the influx of new players for a while, though, will be a little bit tiresome? Like you were saying, you're going to be playing a lot of people who have never played the game before?
Probably, but hopefully with time, enough people get, climb the top.
Yeah, shouldn't take too long. Well, there's not a whole lot for us to say about the closed beta release because, like Gilly said, there's not patch notes yet, and I mean, there's not a lot to say other than that we have these new people coming in, but we are really excited about that. We are going to be bringing you news about it as soon as we can, so keep your eye out for that in future episodes as well. We'll be going over those patch notes and over the release.
Yeah, so with that, we'll move on to our main topic of the day. We're going to be looking at gaining experience in Heroes, and this is actually a shout out to my brother. That's where I got the idea for this episode because he kept asking me, like, why is my team getting behind several levels, or like, why, when we're ahead, are people able to catch up to my team's experience so easily? He was having a lot of questions about that, so I was like, you know what, maybe we can do an Eye on the Storm episode all about gaining experience, and he was like, please do. So I wanted to start off, I guess we'll start off with the main way of getting experience, which is laning. So it's a little bit different than a typical game of this type where you don't have to get last kills. So you just have to be sort of in the vicinity of the minions that are dying, or the little mobs. iDream, how close do you have to be?
I would say about like half a screen, a little over half a screen away is what I usually assume. I haven't actually tested it completely, but
right.
About half a screen.
Yeah, it's interesting because there aren't any specific releases of information about that yet. There's no this many inches or this many pixels. So we've been asking people. That's the general consensus: is about half a screen you're safe. So as long as you can see it pretty well, you're probably good, huh?
I think you can also see when they die, there's a little purple XP that appears above their head, so that's a good idea to tell. And if you can't see that, that means you didn't get XP from them. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so if they die and you don't see the purple thing, that means you should probably move a bit closer.
Okay.
And just use that to test.
So a full camp of mobs that runs down, I don't know if you call it camp, grouping of mobs. Can you tell how much of a level that would be kind of in the earlier levels if you were to miss a full camp? Because I think a lot of problems is that people are just running around the map and not staying in lanes early on.
So you mean a full wave of minions?
Yes, wave. That's the word.
Full wave of minions, I don't know. Level 1, I would say it's about half a level if you were to miss the entire wave.
So really important. So at the beginning of a game, a lot of times the question is, who's going which lane? And the interesting thing about this game is that it doesn't have to be typically assigned, this character, this role goes to this lane, this role goes to this lane, or anything like that. And there are some maps where we're seeing, 3 people in one lane, or even sometimes 4 people in one lane to start the game. But in your opinion, for like the general casual player, especially when you're solo queuing, is it a good idea to make sure that you've got somebody in each lane at all times, or at least just in the early game, or what would you say?
In the early game, it's really important that you make sure you have at least one person in every lane. Late game, I would say when the objectives actually start spawning, like for example, like tributes, that's when you can actually like leave the lane. But before then, make sure you always have someone to be in the lane.
Okay.
Okay. When does that sort of stop? I've heard like 10. I've heard other numbers. Is there a general like rule? Do you kind of go back to lanes if you're behind once you get past 10? What do you think?
A lot of it is just based on the map, and you want to focus on, like, for example, when the plants spawn on the plant map, you want to move to the plants and get them as soon as possible, because the plants also give you XP, so you're not really punished as hard.
Right.
And that would go for the mines as well. So basically, when the objectives are up, you have an excuse to leave the lane. But when they're not, you should try to stay in lane as long as you can. And late game is when you actually want to group with your team and fight for the and whatnot.
Okay.
Through objectives.
So the little flowers and the skeletons in the mines give experience. Do the pirates as well in Black Arts?
Yeah, they do. All the mercs give you XP.
Oh, so like the regular merc camps do too?
The ones who cap them, and also the ones who kill them after their spawn, both get it.
There isn't really much that doesn't give you XP, it seems like.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that does, like, other than like spawn stuff from heroes, like Abathur, Locust, and stuff like that. But all the in-game stuff does.
Do you get more XP for capping a merc camp or for killing it?
I think it's even for both teams.
Okay. All right. What about... I'm trying to see. So I want to talk about decision making. So when you're ahead in levels in XP, what's the decision making like there? What kind of things are you looking to do?
The XP in this game is like you want to look at like talent tier, like power spikes. So for example, level 16 is a really strong spike in the game because you get like one of the strongest talents in the game. So if you're ahead on a talent tier, that's when you want to group up and like force the enemy to come to you and like make them like take a disadvantaged fight. But if let's say you're like 14 to level 15, you guys are even on talent tiers, and so you're not actually that far ahead.
Okay.
But like you would basically consider that an even game at that point. But when you're ahead of talent tier, that's when you would actually assume that you're fully ahead and force them to fight you.
What about when you're behind a talent tier? What kind
And when you're behind, if the enemy team is good, they would group and try to force you to come to them by like, I don't know, let's say the mines come up and you would have to enter, or else you're gonna like give them 100 skulls. So when you're behind, you want to soak as long as you can, but if the enemy team is playing it properly and forcing you to go for objectives, then you'll have to find a way to fight. But for the most part, you want to try to get in pick before the 5v5 fight. Try to avoid it as long as possible. Catch up on the talent.
Yeah, so you're pretty much always looking to not engage when you are behind in XP, and you're trying to engage when you're ahead in XP generally. I mean, there's going to be some exceptions to that, but I think that was one thing that kind of is one of those like a duh kind of things, but took me a while to figure out that if my team is behind in XP, my primary goal should be to make sure that I'm making up that deficit. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
So the best way to make up that kind of deficit is just to stay in lanes. Is it also to try to take camps, or you should just continue just lane?
Laning gives more XP than killing camps, and also if you're behind, your opponents can easily punish you for trying to go for camps. So you want to generally play it safe and just soak the lane XP safely.
So where does killing heroes fall into this? Like, I know that I gain XP from killing enemy heroes, but how much should I be trying to do that as opposed to just soaking in lane and turtling up?
If you're coordinated enough, going for picks can often get you a lot of EXP, especially in the late game, but definitely not true in the early game. Like, minions give way more EXP than hero kills in the early game. But late game, hero kills mean a lot. It gives you EXP, and it lets you like have a 4v5 on the team fight for a long time.
Right.
And something that I hear about is like the rubber banding. So when you're behind in levels, how does killing other heroes like bring you back?
The EXP system in this game makes it so that when you're ahead, you don't get as much for getting kills, but when you're behind, you get a lot more. So a lot of the times when you do something, if like you're able to manage it to win a team fight, when you're behind, you'll easily like catch up to the other enemy in EXP. Majority of the time.
Cool.
Okay.
So it kind of gives you a little glimmer of more hope than you might have otherwise.
It lets the team that's behind catch up a lot more in this game compared to other MOBAs, at least.
How does that I know that change is fairly recent. How has that like impacted the pro scene?
The EXP wasn't always like that. At least since I started playing this game,
Oh, was it?
there was a rubber banding effect.
Well, I know that when we first started playing Heroes, a lot of the concern was about snowballing and just how if one team gets ahead within the first 7 minutes, let's say, or even 3 or 5 minutes, that you really just don't have any hope and it's not fun anymore. So, and that was like very early on. So I think you're right that that was something that at least they've been in process of figuring out, because I hear a lot less about people worrying about snowballing now. Would you guys say you do as well?
Yeah, I don't think snowball is a big issue in this game.
That's good.
You can snowball through objectives, but snowballing EXP-wise is not the biggest of deals, because you can easily come back.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Even on Blackheart's Bay?
Maybe not on that map, but that map has its own issues.
I love that map, man. It's getting so much hate, and I'm still like,
No,
woohoo,
buddy.
Blackheart!
You know, anytime I hear somebody talk about it, I'm like, oh, it's Anna's favorite.
I know, I love it.
I die a little inside every time that map shows up.
I think it's probably because, like, my favorite competition war games are always like, well, how about this? When I play paintball, my strategy is to find a place where no one can see me and, like, I can't get hit and just pew-pew people from my little hideout in a tree. And I think that's why I like Blackhearts, because I'm not forced to run into the fray. I can just kind of run around and take camps if my team doesn't know what they're doing. But anyways, enough about me. Let's kind of talk about experience gain as an overall concept in terms of, like, if I'm a new player, I've just gotten my key into the alpha or next week into the beta, I'm just learning about this game, and I want to make sure that I impart wisdom to my team about experience. What should be the first things that I really think about? Maybe, and I know we've kind of talked over all this, but if we could do like a 1, 2, 3 most important things to remember about experience, what would you think you would say, iDream?
Number one, you should always have someone in lane, especially for early game. So let's say your teammates aren't listening and they're all like punching up in a lane. You want to be the hero that goes to the other lane by himself and soaks it. And 2 and 3. Not sure.
Number 1 is so important that it's number 1, 2, and 3.
Like, well, you don't want to fight when you're behind especially behind on a talent tier.
Okay.
And you want to fight when you're ahead, especially on a talent tier.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it's really cool, you know, something that I really appreciate about this game, and again, for those of you who may not have been playing as extensively yet, that you share all of your XP. And that's something we didn't mention before, because we've mentioned it in other shows, but that's something that makes this game really fun, in that I don't have to be thinking about, like, oh, making sure that the carry gets the XP, or that the support isn't stealing kills, or anything like that. Like, it's all shared, which is nice. Kind of a kumbaya type of feeling.
It's very friendly.
Yeah.
There is something that I wanted to ask as far as objectives. We talked about merc camps, but we didn't really talk about structures. So
oh, right.
Right. So towers provide XP now. Do they provide like more or less than the forts and keeps, or is it still more for those?
I think the math is 2 towers equals 1 fort, and 2 of the inner ones equals 1 keep. So it's like half split.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And do walls give?
No, I don't think walls give anything.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
As far as like, in terms of like, does a tower provide more than a wave of creeps? I would assume so.
I think so. I think it would go about even.
Sorry, I'm always like, how much?
But if you're getting towers, you're probably also getting the minion wave.
That's true. That's true.
And you gain a lot in terms of game advantage from taking out a tower as well. Like,
it's changed the competitive meta a lot since the last patch, because towers give you XP now.
Kind of makes them so like even more valuable to the game.
You'll see a lot of teams just like. So there's been a lot more of like tri-laning in the competitive scene, at least, where you send like 3 people to one lane, and the main purpose of that is just to get towers. And you'll see a lot of teams, once they get the towers, they'll switch to another lane and just rotate around the map and get all the towers. And because you do that, you'll probably hit level 10 first, which is when you get your heroic, and you'll have a lot more control over the map because of the tower kills that you got.
So you being somebody who has a ton of experience in MOBA type games, would you say that that kind of change where you've got the tri-laning happening so much, and late game you have teams grouping up so much, is that similar to other MOBAs, or is that very, very different?
I think Dota does like a tri-lane thing, but I'm not really sure. I don't watch the Dota competitive scene, but compared to League, yeah, you never see like triple lanes unless like maybe like in the 2v1 like meta that the League scene had going on for a while, where like the jungler would come. It's kind of different. I would say it's pretty unique to Heroes.
Cool.
In terms of the maps that we have now in the pool, are there any ones where you can say it's way, way more important to be like laning versus objectives? Or is it just all of them, be in all the lanes all the time?
I would say the mines map is the least important to soak EXP on, because you're in mines like for a decent bit of the game, and also when the mines aren't up, since there's only 2 lanes, you want to have control over the watchtowers and just basically like poke around and make sure the enemy team can't soak EXP, since there's like pretty much nowhere to hide once you have the watchtower. So capping the watchtower and having control of the pushes makes the enemy team be unable to soak, and that kind of just snowballs you. And if they are brave enough to try to soak EXP, you punish them by killing them.
Cool.
So you're not really soaking as much on that map as you would on the others.
The more we talk about that map, the more I'm convinced how evil it is.
It is. It is a one of these things is not like the other kind of map.
Yeah.
Cool. What? And I think we're playing on your favorite map for our play session. And what was that map? Did you say is your favorite? iDream?
Cursed Hollow.
Okay, cool. What do you like about that one?
I like how it's a big map. I think the objective is the most like interesting to use. And yeah, but the only thing I don't like about it is the randomness of the spawns. But
right,
seems to be a theme. Have you memorized the formula?
No, it's too hard.
Yeah, there is like a formula that was on Reddit, and it's supposedly if you could memorize it, you can know where everything's going to spawn except for the second tribute, which doesn't follow the rules of the formula.
I looked at it, but
what?
It seemed too complicated.
So did I. It was very complicated. It's like
what does it depend on?
So it just depends on top and bottom halves of the map, and then there's like 3 rows of 2. So like there's 2 on the left side, 2 in the middle, and then 2 kind of on the right side. And if it's spawned, if there's like 2 that have spawned top, the next one has to be bottom or something. Like it can't be in the same row.
Oh, weird.
Something like that. Yeah, it's very. But
it's
then
just
the
like a bunch
one,
of rules, and then like it's like a process of elimination. You can guess where the next one will be.
Right.
Like, going through the rules.
If you have seen that formula and you are here watching the show, please do link it in chat. Let everyone check that out for themselves. But as we go into that play session, iDream, and we're doing that on Cursed Hollow, is there anything in particular to this map that we should be thinking about in terms of experience gain?
This is one of the most important maps to soak EXP on, especially like early game. A lot of teams will, especially in pubs, I see everyone just goes like abandon ship and they just go for the first tribute as soon as it spawns, which is I think around like 30 minutes. So
should you not do that?
A lot of the times you can just like not go to the tribute and get an EXP lead, which will make you stronger for the next one, and
Oh.
it kind of snowballs from there. And especially if you have like a global hero, kind of like Right Wing or Falstad, that can just fly to the fight either way. You want to stay in your lane and just look as case you can.
Oh,
you
that
have
makes
to
a
go.
lot of sense.
Because they aren't actually rewarded that much for getting one tribute. It's the first one to 3, not the first one to like 1 or 2.
Right.
So you can afford to let the enemy team have some.
Yeah, and you still have some wiggle room. Even if they get the next one, that doesn't mean anything bad happens to you.
And you're more likely to get the next one. You are higher
Right.
level.
Cool. Well, that's good to think about. I'm excited to see that game play out. I'll be observing because we need someone to kind of follow iDream around. And he's going to show us, like we said, Zeratul, a build for Zeratul. But before we get into that, anything else that we want to wrap up with XP? Gilly, did you have any more questions, or are we set?
Sorry, Rune Sun's like linking all of the rules. Chat, there's like a million of them.
Shout out to Rune Sun in chat.
I thought that the second tribute was anyway. No, I think that I had all of my questions answered about XP gain. So thank you very much about that. And then I'll make sure to link the Heroes Fire build in chat this time before we start the game. I'm going to do that actually right now, so that you guys can follow along as we're playing in our custom game.
Here's a little peek at it right here, sneak peek, thanks to heroesfire.com. We use it on every show. Very, very cool. Brought to you by Forecourt Jester and friends. So yeah, we're going to take the stream down really, really briefly just so we can add the rest of our players to our call. And then we'll be back with the play session, and iDream will be talking us through the talent choices he makes for Zeratul and the way that he uses him on Cursed Hollow. So see you guys in just a little bit.